My name is Emily Carter and I am 31 years old living in Boulder, Colorado. My life at first glance might seem normal to most people. Boulder is a beautiful place with bright, clear skies and mountain trails, a city filled with people who love the outdoors, art, and good coffee. I worked at a small used bookstore downtown, enjoyed hiking with my dog Max, and loved to write short stories in my journal. I had a few close friends, two in particular who were more like family than anything else, but home was nowhere near as peaceful as outside. My world behind closed doors was controlled by my father, a man who wore a polite face in public but twisted into something unrecognizable in private. He was the kind of man whose every need had to be met, whose moods ran like tidal waves through the house. He yelled over the smallest things, blamed people for mistakes he made himself, and talked down to my mother and uncle every chance he could. Even the simplest things, like what we had for dinner or what we watched on television, became a battlefield. If my mother made stew and he did not like stew, chaos broke out. If my uncle tried to rest after his job, my father would find a way to interrupt him for some trivial task. He made sure none of us could ever really relax, and he never respected a single boundary. As a child, I learned fast to make myself quiet and invisible. When he started flirting with women much younger than himself, women the age of his daughter, and excused it as just being me, I stopped having friends over. People at school thought I was shy, and maybe I was, but mostly I was just careful. My father could be charming and generous with strangers, but the minute the door closed, he became cold and unpredictable. Over time, his drinking and other habits made things worse. I remember once, when I was 12, gathering the nerve to beg my mom to leave him. I tried telling school counselors what it was really like at home, but no one could help us. Every time I thought I might get out, some door slammed in my face. There was no money to move away, no clear proof of violence that anyone took seriously, just bruises nobody believed and words that cut deeper than anything physical. By the time I turned 16, I realized my real purpose in life was to make sure my father could not hurt anyone else, especially my mom and me. That became my mission, even if it meant years and years of waiting. When I turned 18, the stress and fear started to catch up with me, and I had to learn how to manage panic attacks and nightmares. I got help from therapists and doctors, and I found friends who believed me, who would let me crash on their couch just to get away for a while. I tried to move out. Sometimes I succeeded, only to end up right back at home after losing a job or running out of money. Each time, my father seemed smug about it, like he knew the world would always bring me back to his doorstep where he could manipulate me all over again. But little by little, I started to find pockets of control. I began collecting evidence of everything my father said and did. I recorded the shouting matches, saved messages where I spelled out what was happening and when, even took videos when I was brave enough. My uncle, who was more like an older brother to me, lived with us too. He was my father's servant, running errands and handling chores while enduring endless guilt trips and threats. Last year, my uncle passed away, and suddenly every terrible thing my father used to make him do landed on my shoulders. I hated that I had to act like his helper, but it let me keep gathering proof, watching him spin out of control as he thought I was just obeying quietly. I told myself every single night that the chance to use everything I had gathered would come one day. Things finally came to a breaking point in January. My dog Max, always my protector, barked at my father one night while he was trying to sleep. I was out at a barbecue with friends trying to breathe for once. When I came home, I found out my father had stabbed a knife into my mother's bedroom door without any thought for who was on the other side. The look in my mother's eyes that night was all I needed to know. If I did not act, something terrible would eventually happen. The police were called. He was taken away and charged with damaging the house, but after a few days the court let him come right back like nothing had happened. I tried to reason with him, but my father's rage only grew. All the fights we had before felt small compared to the fierceness in his voice now. Another argument exploded. I grabbed Max, packed a single bag, and left. Two of my best friends welcomed me and my dog like family, and I stayed on their couches, jumping between homes, praying he would not find us. While all this was happening, a lawyer contacted me, one handling my mother's case. After I explained everything, she helped me get listed as a victim. For the first time, someone listened and cared. With this new status, I could provide all the evidence I had spent years collecting, and the court granted me an order of protection. Suddenly, I had the house to myself. It was quiet, and it was the first time since I was a little girl that I finally had control. My mom and my dog could visit safely, and I finally slept without fear. My confidence went up too. I dyed my hair, got new clothes, and started walking with my head up. I knew I would have to face my father in court, but I was determined not to let him see me as that scared girl anymore. I became the kind of person I used to imagine being when I read stories about women who broke free. It was not easy, though. Every time a door slammed or a phone rang unexpectedly, I jumped. I had to remind myself not to let old fears take over. The hearing came in April. I remember walking into the cold courtroom, feeling my heart pound so loudly in my chest I thought everyone could hear it. My father looked at me after 2 months apart, and for the first time he did not see a frightened shadow. He tried talking to me, even in front of the judge, and had to be told to stop. The prosecutor moved me across the room, but I saw him trying to crane his neck to see me. The judge noticed it and told him off. It made the prosecutor uneasy, she said. I felt something shift inside me at that moment. It was like justice had been waiting for this day, too. When my turn came to speak, I told my story as clearly as I could, keeping my eyes level and never once looking away. My voice shook, but I did not cry. I felt every word as I told the court what he had done to all of us for so many years. The judge listened. My father was given another week in jail on top of his time for what he had done, and in that moment I felt like I won the kind of victory I used to dream about, lying awake in bed, hoping for rescue. The best part was that my evidence sealed his fate. He was sent to mandatory rehabilitation for 9 months by court order, a place where he could not manipulate, threaten, or control anyone. For once, his words did not get him anywhere. People finally saw him the way I always had. As for me, there was no reunion, no forgiveness, not even a tiny part of me that missed him. Max slept without nightmares, and my mother came home at night looking peaceful instead of exhausted. I got my job at the bookstore back, started writing new stories again, and even reconnected with some old friends who had left because they could not stand my father's presence. Every day since that hearing, the house has been filled with sunlight. I found out I loved the quiet, that silence can actually heal when it does not mean you are afraid of making noise. My mom and I have a long way to go, but for the first time we are building something new together. Sometimes I still wonder if my father will come back, but I have learned that I am not powerless, that even after years of living under someone else's control, you can find your way out. One morning, I found a letter in the mailbox with no return address. Inside, it was blank. Maybe it was him, maybe it was not. I tore it up and tossed it in the trash. My revenge was not screaming or shouting, but living without fear, filling my house with peace and laughter, and making sure my father could never hurt us again. Now, when I look at myself in the mirror, I see someone strong and unbreakable, someone who did not give up no matter how bad things got. That is how I turned the tables on dear old Dad, and how I finally gave myself and my mom the life we always deserved.